A very good morning, students. Welcome to today's class on history of human resource management or also evolution of human resource management. So today's class we shall see how human resource management has come into existence and what is the journey it has traced so far, and what are the different phases in its journey ever since human resource management has been incorporated in an organization as a separate function, as a separate department, and to that from that particular time when it has been recognized as a separate function in organization, and to this particular day in the 21st century, the journey of human resource management and the various phases that are included in this particular journey, that's what we are going to see in today's class on history of human resource management. So when we look at the evolution of human resource management, where HRM happens to evolve, HRM happens to evolve when organizations started to exist. Now much prior to scientific inventions in the 18th century, that is between 1700 to 1800, that particular time period called as the 18th century, much before to that, organization did not exist because scientific civilization or scientific inventions of the day started seeing light from 18th century. Prior to that, life was very simple, right? We had kings, kingdoms, barbarism on the streets, and life was completely different. There was nothing called as electricity, there was nothing, and none of the machines that we are using today in form of a necessity, comfort or luxury, none of them existed. Now all these particular things which we are using today, be it a car, be it a fan, be it a laptop, or be it a soap, all these particular things which we are using today, all of them happen to be scientific inventions. Now this particular scientific invention started in 18th century, that is the time period between 1700 to 1800. And for every scientific invention, immediately an organization was also floated. For example, when Graham Bell happened to invent this particular telephone, he immediately floated an organization called as Bell Laboratories, right? So for invention was followed by an organization. So when organization in the initial days, there were only single proprietorship organizations and one man used to do all the functions, a few people used to do all the functions. And later when competition started increasing, when the nature of the business operations started becoming complex, specializations were formed, right? So we started having, initially production was treated as a separate department, right? So departmentation based on specialization, okay, and then marketing, finance added, and similarly human resource management was also incorporated. So when we look out to the development of human resource management, it goes back to the early management pioneers, to that to those particular days of Robert Owen and Charles Babbage. Now we are talking in the 18th century, almost like 200 years back if we travel in time, or 240 years back we travel in time. Now that's the time period we are talking about. Now thus from those particular days itself, we started having the evolution of human resource. Now though it was not called as an HRM, but it evolved then, but there was a different name, and that particular name is called as personnel management. So in place of HRM, those days it was called as personnel management, okay. Now there are four phases in this particular journey of human resource management. The first phase is the early scientific management era. The second phase is the scientific management era. The third one is human relations movement era, and the fourth one is the new HRM era. Now coming to the first one, that is the early scientific management, the history of early scientific management can be traced back to the origin of the personnel management. We are talking in the 18th century, that is between 1700 to 1900, and in this particular part of the time, right, we had this particular, by then we had this particular concept called welfare concepts, and sometime in the later part in the last 2-3 decades of the 18th century, industrial revolution started, and industrial revolution spread across Europe, okay, and at the same in those particular days we still had this master and slave. Now most of the countries were occupied by Britishers and European countries, so most of the Asian countries were the colonies of the European countries and or Britishers. So labor was treated as a commodity, and people were brought and then they were sold as a slaves. So this early scientific management period was not very rosy. The early scientific management is a very gory part, in the sense like it was tragic. The conditions, the living conditions, the organizational conditions, the societal conditions were very pathetic. They were barbaric in nature, right? Not much of an improvement happened to take place, but those particular days at least departments were formed, and they recognized that in order to manufacture we need people. The next era is the scientific management era. So this particular era was heralded by F.W. Taylor, Frederick Winsor Taylor. He is also called as the father of the scientific management. So he initiated this particular time period in the 19th century by inventing principles of scientific management. And what actually he suggested is, he suggested to plan our work, and he gave methods how to maximize productivity and how to minimize inefficiencies. Alright, maximizing productivity, like when you are providing them proper ventilation, when you are providing them proper water facilities, when you are not overcrowding the people. So he used certain techniques, right, and those particular techniques proved to be a standard. So in organizations where workplaces were heavily overcrowded, where there was very little ventilation, the lighting was very dim, the productivity was very low, and inefficiencies were very high. So then he started out doing this particular experiments, right? So what he has done, he instead of overcrowding, he decreased the number of people, and then he increased this particular ventilation. So when ventilation was given, people were decreased, obviously inefficiencies started decreasing and productivity started increasing. And for an organization to run successfully, to withstand competition, to maximize profits, we need productivity at workplace. And that particular mantra of success was given by F.W. Taylor, right? So that particular century, that 1800 to 1900, was swayed by the principles of Frederick Winsor Taylor. That's the scientific management era. And the next one is human relations movement. Here we started looking at the people, and new movements have been started, saying that you'll have to give more importance to the human beings, because at the end of the day every worker is a citizen and every worker is also a human being. So we started having this particular Hawthorne studies, which were conducted between 1927 and 1932, right, based on this particular principles of time, based on this particular principles of product, time, and these particular things. So here Hawthorne also came to tell that if you are able to treat your proper labor well, you provide them good water facilities, you encourage them, you boost the morale of the employees, obviously the productivity increases. So this particular time period basically focused on providing providing employees with good facilities. In one word we can say, giving hospitable features to the labor, and making the workplace a very conducive one. Now, not making a workplace look like a dungeon, making a workplace like something which is important, right? So here so this employee and employer, in the case of the employee, more features, more facilities, providing them more amenities, that was the focus. And that's because they discovered this employee is not a product or a factor of a production. You should not treat him as a slave, you should treat him with respect, you should treat him with dignity. Next is the human resource management era. It started during the 1930s and 1950s. So we replaced the word called personal management with this word called human relations, and that was the time when multinational organizations started coming to the picture. Back in India, that was the time period when we started having labor movement here. So this new movement started up post the Second World War. So we started having the new movement called as this particular the human resource management era. Now this particular human resource management era comprises basically of four aspects. The first one is the work of the pioneers. the second human capital concept, the third concept of corporate culture, and the fourth one, the new HRM. So coming to the work of pioneers, Peter F. Drucker contributed majorly to the field of this modern management, right? He's also called as the father of modern management. Okay, he suggested how an effective management contributes to direct all managers towards a common goal. So those organizations helped organizations in achieving their objectives in reaching their goals through his management mantras. So he is one particular pioneer. The other pioneer is Douglas McGregor. Douglas McGregor contribution was like theory X and theory Y. So we have to use this particular carrot and stick policy. Set of employees who are self-motivated, incentivize them. Now you boost their particular morale, give them financial incentives or cash incentives like that. So that's nothing but the carrot. And we have also another set of employees who are very lazy, who disturb work at the workplace, do not allow others also to work. Identify these people, now penalize them, punish them. That's nothing but stick. Okay, so that particular contribution, his particular contribution through that, and also his contribution towards the strategic importance of personal policies and their integration with business objectives, they played a major role. So this is the work of the pioneers. The next aspect is the human capital concept. This particular concept was given by T. Schultz. Now he stated that in the human capital concept, how qualified and committed people contributed in the rise of a new economies called as such as Germany and Japan. What happened after the Second World War? Japan was hit with two nuclear bombs, two atomic bombs in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and Germany was completely routed. But in spite of that, Germany started becoming the manufacturing hub of the world. It started becoming automobile hub of the world, and Japan became the electronic hub of the world. Back in those particular days, all the electronic products were coming only from this particular country called Japan. How could they build such great companies? How could they build such great multinational companies, which even the United States could not build? It's because they invested on human capital. They invested on manpower. They started treating employees with a lot of care. Right? More importance was given to the well-being of this particular employees. Now that's this human capital concept. The next one is our concept of corporate culture. So we have in the corporate culture, we basically have two types of philosophies. One is the Japanese philosophy and the other one is the American philosophy. In case of the Japanese philosophy, they focus on employee improvement, employee enrichment. In case of this particular Americans, they basically focus on targets, put a lot of pressure on the employees and achieve them targets. So here what happens is results or the ends are very important in American philosophy, whereas means are very important in case of Japanese philosophy. Whether you achieve the results or not, your contribution, right, I mean your attempt, whether that is sincere or not in your work, or you're sincere or not, that what counts in our Japanese philosophy. So here that's how the corporate culture started coming in the 80s, in the late 80s and all. So in this particular corporate culture, we had this Japanese management as well as the American philosophy also. Next is the new HRM. Right now, after the 21st century, 2000, now today we are into the new human resource management. So much has changed in this particular time period, all the way in from 1800. In this 250 years, many changes have taken place. Today we are living in a virtual world. Today we are having organizations such as transnational organizations. We have network organizations. We have, right? So organizations which are scattered around the world, and the functions of organizations scattered at different places. In such time, the new HRM takes a very important role, right? So in the case of the new HRM, we place a lot of importance on technology, harvesting technology for the better results of the human resource department. Okay, harvesting technology for the better results of the human resource management or HR department and organization is the new HRM. So I end my class here. So this particular topic we conclude with this. So we shall meet again in the next class.